I was speaking to a room of 60 entrepreneurs. And the question wasn't, should I write a book or shouldn't I write a book? These were all people who knew that a book could benefit and grow their business. The question was, well, what are the real benefits of writing a book and how can it actually make a difference and move the needle? And this is one of the most common things that I see is people know they want to write a book. People see all the big thought leaders, all the entrepreneurs they look up to that have these amazing books that then grow their businesses. But to them, they don't understand exactly why and how they can actually leverage it. And so there's a disconnect between actually writing the book and committing the time, energy, and money to doing it right versus not doing it at all. And so I'm going to share with you right now 11 benefits of writing a nonfiction book to actually grow and scale your business. Now, a little backstory, I'm Jake Kelfer. I wrote 4 best-selling books in my 20s, and I've helped over 250 people write, publish, and launch nonfiction books to grow their business, and that's resulted in millions of dollars in sales for both myself and our clients. Now, let's just jump straight into it, and I think that's really important to understand when you're looking at a book is not just, is a book worth my time, but it's how can I actually benefit from my time, energy, and money going towards creating a book. And if after this, you don't feel that these benefits are worth your time, energy, and money, then you know what? Maybe a book isn't the best path for you, and that's okay. But instead of saying, I want to do it, but you never actually do it, let's say I want to do it. Here are the benefits. You're going to do it. And that's what I'm hoping you'll get from this is a decision of whether or not it makes sense to move forward with you committing to a book or not. The first benefit that I want to talk about is this. It makes networking easier and more effective. When I wrote my first book, Elevate Beyond, I was able to use that book to get on podcasts. I was able to use that book as a way to network with people I didn't previously have access to. When I wrote my third book, The Elevated Entrepreneur, I was able to connect with people who were at the top of the game in the fields I wanted to get in touch with. For example, Brock Johnson, Lori Harder, John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn, Chris Ducker, Dr. Nicole LaPera. And there were so many people that I got to connect with because I was willing to write a book. Some of those friendships have blossomed into amazing relationships, referral partners, business deals, and some of them were amazing to meet them and it just never took off from there. But when you have a book, it makes networking a lot easier. You can give your book away. You can get in the door. And you can use your book to pitch yourself onto stages and podcasts. And the thing that I really want to stress here when it comes to networking is a book helps you be seen by someone else as an authority on that topic. And so if you're looking to get more partners, great. They'll say, oh, wow, you wrote a book on this topic. You could be a great partner for us. And we've seen that happen because people say, oh, Jake, you wrote a book on how to write a book. You must be the book guy. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. And so networking becomes easier and more effective. You get higher open rates, you get higher response rates, and ultimately you set yourself up for a chance to get in the room. Otherwise, previously, you weren't able to do so. Benefit number 2, when you write a book, you instantly get more visibility. It's easier to get in the media, okay? I was 22 years old. I was working for the Lakers. Awesome. Love that I worked for the Lakers. Nobody was putting me on TV for working for the Lakers. The minute I wrote my book, Elevate Beyond, I got invited to do TV interviews. I got invited to do podcast interviews. I got invited to do media interviews. The book was something that the media, traditional, mainstream, and current media, was excited about promoting me for. And that's something that I want to strongly emphasize here, is that when you have a book, it is the one thing that society views as super legitimate, and therefore you're able to get more exposure from that said things. That's why a lot of times when you come out with a book, your local media would love to do a feature on you because you're one of the few people in your local community who have a book. And that's how you can really build some notoriety. The other thing is people see you differently. And when people see you differently, you're perceived to be an expert, and therefore you have the opportunity for them to want to invite you onto their shows or to their podcasts. At this event that I was at, Kevin Harrington, one of the original Sharks, was at this event. And he was talking about how when he wanted to build his personal brand, he wrote his book and that got him to do 100 to 200 podcast interviews. Why? Because the book was the thing that people were like, okay, let's get you on the show. And the book was the thing that he wanted to use as a reason to promote himself. It wasn't that he had achieved X, Y, and Z. It was he had a book, and that was what warranted him doing it on his end and people accepting it on their end. Number 3, when you write a really great nonfiction book, you're going to get more and better clients. And what I found this is so true. I wrote Elevate Your Network, which was all about how to build better relationships. And before that book came out, I was able to secure a client where I got my first speaking gig in China. My first international gig came because I wrote a book that established me as the authority, and the person who heard of that was like, we want you to speak on this exact topic. When you have a book, you're going to have better clients because, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, they've already seen what you can do. They can already visualize themselves working with you. And so now you're able to convert people quicker. You're able to get better people working with you. And these people are bought in. And when people are bought into what you have to do, they're more likely going to execute on the things that you share. The next benefit of writing a book here is this. You have shorter sales cycles. Now, this will vary dramatically depending on what industry you're in, what topic your book is, what products you sell, what price points you live at. But on average, people that have a book versus people that don't have a book tend to have shorter sales cycles. And here's the reason that I have found for this. When people have your book, they spend 2, 3, 4 hours reading it. They have a chance to fully immerse themselves into your philosophy, your methodology, your personality. And if at the end of that book, they finish and they really like it, now they are ready to work with you. They don't need to be convinced. They don't need to be sold to. They say, oh, I just read this book. This is exactly what I need. I'm hiring this person. You can also make the book specific to increasing conversions. So what we have all of our authors do is you always give a free gift in the beginning so you can capture the lead data. Anybody who gets your book, whether it was given or they purchase it, and then they actually download something in your book, that is a hot prospect. They have opted in additionally beyond just the book. And then the other thing that I think is really important is you add what we call a here's what to do next section. At the end of your book, you tell people exactly what are the ways they can work with you. What are the next steps? You can be as direct as follow me on Instagram or book a call or apply to work with us. You have so many different levers here, but they've just read your book. And at that point, if they finished your book, they're going to likely want to know what else do you have to do? And then the other piece of this is that people who read your book, they know at the end of it if they want to work with you or not. So for example, we had a client, she read Big Idea to Bestseller. She loved what it was all about. She was like, Jake, you're my guy. You have the personality that exactly I'm looking for. How much is it to work with you? And I told her, and then she wired the money, her first payment right after that. All because I wrote the book. There was no sales call. There was no 3-month follow-up. It was purely, I read your book. You're my guy. I need what you have. How much is it? Number 5, and this goes deeper into this, is when you write a book, you get the benefit of pre-qualifying your prospects without actually having to do other things. So something that you'll hear a lot is people need a lot more touch points. They need to consume a certain amount of your material. They need to read a certain amount of blogs, watch a certain amount of YouTube videos, see enough social media posts. Well, when they read your book, they're going to spend multiple hours with you. Not to mention all the other time that you're taking up in their mind. If they go on a flight and they bring your book, they're seeing your book. They're potentially reading it. They're taking your book out. If it's on their office, if it's on their nightstand, they're going to be constantly thinking of you, and you're going to have name recognition, which helps get them more and more relevant. But the other thing here is that these people are pre-qualified because they've read your book. If they don't like your book, or they don't like you, or they don't like your style, they're not going to continue on, which is great. But then if they do, and they finish your book and they reach out to you, they're not going to have all the objections that someone else would. Nobody reads your book, reads the entire thing, and then says, oh, actually, you're a dick. No, they know your style. They know what you're all about. Now, do you still have to have you or your team doing a great job of closing and representing who you are in the book? Of course. Do you still have to be really good at what you do? Absolutely. But a book can pre-qualify them so that when they book a call, they're more excited. The other thing and why they're pre-qualified is because when you write a book that grows your business, You're often sharing your framework or your methodology or lessons that you've learned. They will have read the book and they'll be like, wow, if this is all the information I've already gotten, imagine what else I can get when I pay and invest with this person. Now, let's move on to number 6. Number 6, the benefit is you can get unlimited social content. So this is something that I see all of the time is entrepreneurs are like, I don't know what types of content to post. I don't have time to create all this content. I'm not sure on how often I should be posting. Well, once you have a book, you now have all of this material here that you can use to post content. One of my favorite things to do is I can just, if I need a burst of inspiration, I can go to a certain page, I can look at it, and I can say, okay, this one's related to cover design. And it shows, and it just shows the different things that you need to do to help create a better cover design. And so I could say, here are 3 things that every author needs to do to make sure their cover stands out on the shelves. Boom. And I just look at the material. You can do this all day long, every single day. What you can also do is input your manuscript into AI and then ask it to create content posts and ideas based on what it is that you're trying to build. Maybe it's email campaigns, maybe it's newsletters, maybe it's a long form, maybe it's short form, reels, carousels. Your book is your best content, and that book can be then translated into tons of social media content. Number 7, the next benefit of writing a great nonfiction book is that you get to have higher pricing power. So what this means is that once you have a book out, you're the expert. You need to make sure that you're pricing accordingly. I've learned this the hard way, and now I make sure to always teach this to my people. When I was first doing some speaking engagements with my first book, I had my book, it became bestseller, I was selling thousands of copies. And then this event coordinator, I had a great relationship with them. They were like, Jake, we really like you. How much is it? And I said $2,500, which was a lot for me back at that time and 23 years old. And I thought I was going to get it. I was like, okay, this is going to be an awesome win. I'm going to get paid $2,500 for a keynote. And then they came back to me and they said, you didn't get the gig. And I was so confused. I was like, what? How could this be? And then they told me, they were like, Jake, look, you're a best-selling author. And we thought you were top tier. But then you charged us $2,500. So there was something that didn't add up to us, and so we decided to pass. And I said, wait, let me get this straight. Had I charged you more, I would have gotten the gig? And they're like, yes. And that was one of those moments that was surreal because it didn't feel like that could actually be the case. But it was a great lesson in learning that when you write a book, people see you differently. And therefore, you're an expert. And experts don't charge the least amount of money. They charge what experts charge. And so then I raised my rates. And this is something that you can do immediately. The other thing, we've seen this time and time again with our clients who do consulting or who do speaking, is the minute you have your book, you just raise your rates by whatever you're comfortable with. It's a great reason to raise your rates. It can also lead to you saying, hey, my rates are going up, and you could try to close people who are a bit on the fence, but it gives you higher pricing power. And this is so valuable that one of our clients, nothing changed. She just doubled her rates and she added $57,000 to her bottom line in 6 months. All right, did nothing and added a little over $9,000 a month in additional revenue. Next up, the next benefit, okay, and we got a couple more here. The next benefit is that you get easier referrals when you have a book. Now, there's a handful of reasons for this, but one of my favorites is understanding that people want to help other people. People want to help their friends. People want to help their colleagues. People want to help their mastermind friends. But most of the time, the person who's asking for help doesn't know what they actually need or doesn't know how to properly ask. And the person who's on the other side doesn't know how to pitch you or talk about you or tell people what it is that you do. So there becomes a gap and you're not able to get the referrals, even though you're like, gosh, I would crush it for their people. So what you do is you say, hey, here's my book. Feel free to give this to anybody that you think could be a good fit. They have better languaging, but you essentially give them the book. You equip them with books that they can then give out as a great way to give their person a gift and for them to introduce them into your world. And then your book will do all the selling that's necessary. So people want to help. You got to make it easier for them to help. Also, if you have a really great book, that book should be focused on something. Well, that's how you can tell people how to help you. And the other thing too is give people 2 books whenever you sign a new client. Give them an onboarding experience. And instead of giving them one book, give them 2 books and tell them that the second book is a gift for someone that they think would benefit from it. The next thing that I want to talk about here is stronger brand recognition. So when you write a book, you get known for something. Atomic Habits, who do you think of? James Clear. Start with Why. Why? Who do you think of? Simon Sinek. When you have a book that's related to these things, you can attach your name to something that people always remember. And so when someone says habits, I always think of James Clear. I think of B.J. Fogg. I think of Charles Duhigg. I think of the people that have written habits books that I've really, really liked. When you think of happiness, who do you associate with? When you think of 5-second rule, who do you think of? Okay, when you think of Awaken the Power Within and you think of top tier motivation, who do you think of? People, when they have a book, allow themselves to not just be known by name, but by strong brand association. And so you can actually build a brand around this. My first book was Elevate Beyond. Second book, Elevate Your Network. Third book, The Elevated Entrepreneur. I was the Elevate guy. Anytime someone thought of Elevate, they thought of me. So now they weren't just saying, oh, I need to think of Jake for something. It was, oh, elevate, that word? Oh, they thought of me. And I've thought about this for other people as well. And so people will remember your thing, which gives you more brand recognition, which gives you more visibility, which gives you more opportunity. We got just 2 more. The 10th benefit of writing a unbelievable nonfiction book for your business is more lead flow. When you write a book, you're going to generate more lead flow. And there's a tons of reasons, but I'm going to give you 2 on opposite sides of the spectrum. Number 1 is you're going to get more leads because you're going to be more confident in your material, which means you're going to speak about it with more conviction. And that conviction is going to lead to more people wanting to be a part of what you have. We've seen it time and time again with authors. But the other side is the tactical side. When you have a book, you actually have a lot of ways to generate leads from that book. You can give away a chapter. You can give the PDF. You can give the paperback copy. You can do promos. You can do pre-launch campaigns, post-launch campaigns, actual launch campaigns. It's also something that's very easy for people to promote, and it's the easiest thing to get people excited about for your business. Think about it like this. How often are you going to be willing to post about all your friends' new group programs? Not that often. But how often are you willing to promote a friend's new book? All the time. And that's what we see as well, is people, whether they're in your market or not, are always willing to support book launches at a much, much, much higher rate than if you have a challenge, if you're doing a new webinar. And that's something that's really important to note, is how do we get more people talking about you? More people talking about you is more visibility, and more visibility to the right audience is going to generate you more leads. Now, the final thing, one of the biggest benefits of writing a book, and probably one of my favorite things, even though it doesn't have the $ ROI to it, is the impact. When you write a book, you have a chance to inspire and impact thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. You have a chance to give somebody their most favorite book, right? Think about the books that have had the biggest influence on your life. You're probably thinking of one right now. Yeah, imagine if that was your book for somebody else. When you write a book, you get to inspire people. People will tell others about your book, and you can create a massive, massive ripple effect over years and years and years of your book being out. The other thing to note is the minute you write a great book and someone reads it, they're going to tell their friends, which means you're going to be able to impact people. You're going to give people a great referral, a great recommendation of a book, and that's going to lead to more opportunities, more results, and eventually more gigs for you. And so these are just 11 of the benefits that you can gain when you actually write a nonfiction book. And I think the biggest thing about this all is that you may not need all of these things. Some of these things will happen naturally. Some of these things will come from deliberate efforts. But when you write a book, you're not just writing a book so you could say you have a book. You're writing a book to make a difference, to build a brand, to monetize. A book is the vehicle that builds the foundation for everything that's to come. If you're a speaker that's doing 50 gigs a year at $5,000 each, just by adding a book, you can increase your revenue by a ton. If you're a coach and you want to charge a little bit more, maybe you're at $7,500 and you want to charge $10,000, and you write a book and you make that change, now you only need 3 clients to make 30 grand versus 4 clients to make 30 grand. Books make big differences, and that's why everybody chooses to do them. But it's not about doing it for ego. If you want to, that's great, but it's about doing it with a deliberate approach of understanding this is how the book ties back to me and my goals. And if you can connect those two, the possibilities are endless. So look, I want to give you a copy of this book, Big Idea to Bestseller. Okay, this is my ultimate roadmap on how to write, publish, and launch a nonfiction book. You can go to bigideatobestseller.com/free-book, and we'll ship you a copy anywhere in the world. If you want help on actually creating your book, go to bigideatobestseller.com/call, book a time to chat with our team. We'll help you build a roadmap. We'll show you exactly what it takes to be successful with this, and then you can actually do the dang